It was Wednesday, the 17th of August, 2016. The city of London was barely beginning to stir, the streets bathed in the pale grey light of just after 5:00 a.m. To the casual observer, it was a morning like any other, but outside a seemingly innocuous pub in Manor Park, the air was heavy with anticipation. Teams from the Metropolitan Police's Specialised Vehicle Crime Unit sat in unmarked cars, watching and waiting. They weren't there for a noise complaint or a licensing issue. They were there to dismantle a sophisticated engine of theft that had been plaguing the capital for weeks. This was the culmination of an exhaustive surveillance operation targeting a pattern that had left detectives baffled. Luxury vehicles were vanishing from private driveways in the dead of night, leaving behind no broken glass, no alarms, and absolutely no trace. What the officers were about to uncover behind the doors of that local establishment would reveal a criminal enterprise stretching far beyond the London boroughs. It connected a quiet storage unit in Essex to workshops in West London, linking different crews and different methods to a singular, devastating result. This wasn't just petty theft, it was organized, industrial-scale acquisition. The operation centered on a network that operated across East London between 2015 and 2016, a group whose efficiency and precision drew comparisons from investigators to the Hollywood blockbuster. Gone in 60 seconds. At the heart of this web sat Manjit Sandhu, a 32-year-old operational leader from Newham. Sandhu was no novice. He was already serving a suspended sentence for similar offences, yet he had used his time not to reform, but to refine his methods. His new operation was larger, more calculated, and designed to exploit a specific, terrifying weakness in London's affluent suburbs: the homeowners' misplaced trust in the security of their own front doors. Sandhu had assembled a structured hierarchy to execute his vision. He relied on close associates like Hina B, only 21, who acted as a scout, identifying high-value targets and coordinating the logistics of the theft. But the true genius and the terror of their operation lay in the silence of their entry. The network didn't rely on brute force or dramatic smash-and-grab tactics. Instead, they operated with military discipline between the hours of 2:00 a.m. and 5:00 a.m. Their method of entry was chillingly simple. They targeted homes with UPVC doors, the kind found on millions of properties across the UK. Most residents believed that lifting the handle engaged the locks and secured the home. The reality, however, was far more unsettling. Unless the key was fully turned, the internal mechanism remained vulnerable. Using nothing more than a screwdriver or a thin piece of flexible plastic, Sandhu's team could slip the latch in seconds. They would glide into hallways and kitchens, ghosting through the house while families slept upstairs. They knew exactly where to look: hallway tables and key hooks, and within moments, they would secure the keys and vanish back into the darkness. The only sign of their presence would be the flash of headlights, as a Range Rover or Mercedes quietly rolled off the driveway, leaving the owners to wake up to a silent, empty space where their prized possession used to be. But breaking in was only the first step. Moving these high-profile vehicles through a city covered in cameras required a disguise so effective it rendered them invisible in plain sight. The secret to their invisibility wasn't speed, it was camouflage. To move these misappropriated luxury vehicles across the city without raising alarms, the network utilized a cover that was as brilliant as it was mundane. They dressed the stolen cars up as private hire vehicles. By applying magnetic transport for London stickers and mimicking the familiar silhouette of a licensed minicab, the thieves could drive high-end BMWs and Mercedes right past police patrols and through checkpoints. In the early hours of the morning, a minicab is a standard sight on London roads, and this visual loophole allowed them to transport their prizes from the street to the safe house, with virtually no risk of interception. However, the syndicate's reliance on technology would eventually become a double-edged sword. While the physical thefts were silent, the data they generated was loud. Detectives from the Organised Vehicle Crime Unit began to notice anomalies in the automatic number plate recognition (ANPR) system. A single license plate would be logged in 2 different boroughs within minutes of each other. A physical impossibility for one car. It wasn't a glitch. It was evidence of a professional cloning operation. This digital footprint allowed investigators to track the movement of the vehicles, leading them to converge on a single location, the Blakesley Arms pub. When officers descended into the basement of that family-run establishment, they found the engine room of the entire enterprise. It wasn't filled with crowbars or heavy machinery, but with high-tech locksmith tools. The bags contained blank key fobs and sophisticated programming device equipment, usually restricted to licensed dealerships. This technology allowed the group to bypass factory-installed immobilizers in seconds, turning a complex security system into a minor inconvenience. This discovery marked a significant shift in how police understood modern car theft. It was no longer about hot wiring engines, but about hacking computers. The investigation, dubbed Operation Brasshand, also uncovered the arrogance that often accompanies such prolonged success. Digital forensics recovered dashcam footage from one of the stolen vehicles, capturing the moment the crew climbed inside, completely unaware they were being recorded. Further evidence came from a McDonald's drive-through camera, which filmed associates Sufyan Mahmood and Hinabi casually ordering food in a stolen vehicle, smiling as if they were on a normal night out. But perhaps the most damning financial link was Tessa P. Sanders' partner. Despite being unemployed, her accounts churned through over $118,000, funneling the proceeds of these crimes back into the system to purchase more decoding tools. In March 2017, the law finally caught up with the network at Suffolk Crown Court. The judge handed down sentences reflecting the severity and sophistication of the operation. Manjit Sandhu received the harshest penalty, a 12-year custodial term. In total, the core members of the group were sentenced to over 46 years combined. Following the trial, Detective Inspector Caroline Clooney issued a stark warning to the public, highlighting the simple flaw that started it all. She urged homeowners to double-lock their UPVC doors with the key, rather than just lifting the handle. That simple extra turn of a key could have prevented millions of pounds in losses. But as the prison doors closed on the East London network, a new, even more industrial operation was quietly taking root in the countryside, far away from the city's CCTV cameras. Years later, the silence returned, but this time it wasn't haunting the urban driveways of London. The centre of gravity had shifted to the open, wind-swept fields of Essex. By early 2024, a new pattern began to emerge, one that felt far more permanent and structured than the mobile theft rings of the past. Hidden behind the rustic gates of a farm, in Little Bardfield near Finchingfield, an industrial empire was being built. To the passing driver, the site was nothing more than a corrugated barn surrounded by hedgerows and idle machinery, a typical slice of English countryside life. But inside, the reality was starkly different. This was the headquarters of a network that had turned vehicle theft into a conveyor belt business. At the top of this hierarchy stood Wahid Youssef, a 29-year-old organizer from Ilford. Youssef was not getting his hands dirty with broken glass. He was the CEO of a criminal logistics firm. He determined which vehicles were acquired, where they went, and how they were processed. Beneath him was a disciplined structure that rivaled legitimate corporations. Mohammed B. managed the cash flow and supplies, ensuring the facility had the tools and labor it needed, while Stanley V. acted as the primary transporter, ferrying the stolen goods from the streets to the sanctuary of the barn. This was a chop shop in the truest sense, but operating on a scale that police had rarely encountered. High-value targets Range Rovers, Jaguars, and Land Rovers stolen from across Essex, Hertfordshire, and Devon were brought here not to be sold, but to be erased. A team of specialists worked methodically to strip these engineering marvels down to their raw components, destroying their identities to feed the black market for parts. The operation relied on its rural camouflage. The isolation of the farm provided a cloak of invisibility that the busy streets of London never could. However, even the most carefully constructed secrecy is fragile. The network's downfall didn't come from a high-tech police intercept, but from a moment of human observation. A witness passing near the unit noticed a large luxury vehicle being driven into the barn. It wasn't the car itself that raised suspicion, but what was inside it: children's car seats and personal belongings still visible through the windows. It was a jarring image of a family's daily life frozen in the back of a stolen vehicle, and it prompted a call to the police. That single tip-off changed everything. Detectives from Essex Police, realizing they were dealing with more than a simple storage unit, obtained a warrant to install covert cameras around the property. For the next 115 days, the police watched. The footage they captured was damning. It showed gang members working with the casual efficiency of mechanics in a licensed garage, dismantling vehicles worth tens of thousands of pounds in a matter of hours. But as the surveillance continued, investigators realized the barn was only the processing plant. The final destination for these stolen goods lay thousands of miles away, and the route there would lead detectives to one of the UK's busiest shipping ports. The scope of the operation became clear when the trail led investigators away from the muddy tracks of the farm and towards the industrial expanse of the London Gateway port. This intelligence gathered from phone data and freight manifests pointed to a specific shipping container, seemingly innocuous, waiting to be loaded onto a vessel bound for West Africa. When officers cracked the seal and swung the heavy doors open, the sheer audacity of the network was laid bare. Inside, carefully packed to maximize every inch of space, were 2 Range Rovers and a Toyota Land Cruiser. The combined value of the metal sitting in that steel box exceeded £80,000. But the vehicles weren't just parked. They were concealed. The gang had arranged household furniture and miscellaneous goods around the cars, creating a visual barrier designed to fool casual customs inspections. It was a Trojan horse strategy, hiding illicit cargo behind the mundane facade of a family moving overseas. This discovery was the smoking gun. It confirmed that the Little Bardfield barn wasn't just a local scrapyard. It was a node in an international supply chain, feeding the demand for luxury SUVs in Africa and the Middle East. Simultaneously, officers uncovered another site in Western Essex, where the skeletal remains of 4 other vehicles were found. The level of coordination required to steal, strip, transport and export these vehicles spoke of a highly sophisticated criminal infrastructure. They were cloning plates, forging logbooks, and navigating international freight logistics with professional ease. The network had effectively erased the history of these cars, turning stolen property into untraceable commodities. On the 27th of June 2024, the waiting game ended. In a synchronized strike that spanned multiple counties, teams from the Essex and Kent Serious Crime Directorate launched raids on 8 separate addresses.
The element of surprise was total.
In Ilford, Wahed Youssef was detained at his home. The command centre of his operation finally shut down. In Luton and Borehamwood, his lieutenants were swept up in the dragnet. The raids even extended to Warwickshire, proving just how far the tentacles of this group reached. When the case reached Chelmsford Crown Court, the evidence, 5 days of video, the seized container, and the forensic trails, was overwhelming. The judge dismantled the gang with sentences that matched their roles. Wahed Youssef, the architect, received over 6 years. His staff received sentences ranging from 4 to 5 years, accumulating a total of more than 36 years of prison time for the group. They had turned theft into a business, and now they were paying the corporate tax. Yet, as one network fell, another form of theft was already perfecting a technique that required neither barns nor shipping containers. A method so clean, it left no physical evidence at all. Between 2015 and 2017, while other gangs were stripping cars in barns or shipping them overseas, a different kind of threat was ghosting through the wealthiest streets of West London. In the exclusive boroughs of Chelsea, Notting Hill, and Maida Vale, residents were waking up to a baffling reality. Their high-performance vehicle cars, worth small fortunes, were vanishing without a sound. There was no shattered glass on the pavement, no alarms screaming in the night, and no sign of a tow truck. The police began to refer to the perpetrators as the keyless duo. Tariq Ali and Hakeem Aziz represented the final evolution of the car thief. They didn't need screwdrivers, and they didn't need warehouses. Their weapon of choice was entirely digital. Using advanced key programming devices, they could intercept the electronic handshake between a luxury car and its fob. In less than 60 seconds, they could clone the signal, creating a fully functioning digital key out of thin air. They would simply walk up to a 100,000 vehicle, unlock it as if they were the owner, press the start button and drive away. It was a crime of pure elegance, executed with surgical precision. The scale of their ambition was staggering. Over 2 years, more than 30 vehicles disappeared, but police suspected the true number was much higher. When investigators finally raided their properties in December 2017, they found the tools of a digital trade: signal jammers, tracking blockers, and a laptop setup capable of producing hundreds of false number plates. Forensic accountants estimated that while they could link the pair to 1.25 million in stolen goods, the actual value of their spree likely exceeded 6 million. Ali and Aziz were eventually caught and sentenced Ali to 6 years, Aziz to over 4. But their legacy remains a cautionary tale. They proved that as vehicle security becomes more advanced, the criminals are evolving right alongside it. From the physical break-ins of East London to the industrial dismantling in Essex, and finally to the digital phantoms of Chelsea, the method changes, but the result is the same. The only true defense is vigilance. What do you think about the evolution of these crimes? Do you believe technology is making our cars safer, or just creating new vulnerabilities? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive into the underworld of vehicle theft informative, please like the video and subscribe for more investigative stories. Stay safe and always double-check your locks.